You're listening to Great Scott, the Office Podcast. I'm Jay Ray, and with me is my desk mate, Jacob.
Hey, how's it going, everybody?
We are coming at you with more Office goodness, coming at you from the Broken Jars Broadcasting Network.
Yes, and if you would like to help us out, visit our Patreon at patreon.com/broken jars. You can come hang out on our Discord and all that other cool stuff. But I don't know how much actual Office goodness is coming in these episodes.
I thought that as I was watching them. I was like, oh man, this is all going to be a drag. But I was surprised. I don't know why. I've seen these episodes 1,000 times, but in the context of having to talk about them, I was surprised. So I guess we'll see. But I think I see where you're coming from with your forecast of negativity.
Yeah. So anyway, we start off with season 7, episode 5, "The Sting," written by Mindy Kaling, directed by Randall Einhorn. So there's some pros right there. They've been they've been around the block a few times in The Office, and obviously Mindy is Kelly. So so we start out. Oscar has gotten a bike that's the same as Lance Armstrong's bike. And this was before he was completely and totally defrauded as a cheater.
That's right.
Which, to be fair, everyone cheats in the cycling, so whatever. But this is when we start getting the rich, douchey Oscar type person. Because he just becomes this more. He spends more. He does all this other stuff. So he just becomes a lot more rich douche person going forward.
I mean, he's always been kind of materialistic because, if you recall, during Crime 8, he had lost his laptop, and that was a really big point of contention for him. It wasn't so much the safety of the office was ruined, but his personal item was gone. Couldn't even care about Kevin being prone to surges now.
Yeah, I know.
Terrible.
Yeah, this is the start of the actually version of Oscar, because it's
oh, right. Well, yeah, I always took it as the writers realizing that Michael's going to be leaving soon.
Right. And that's exactly how I feel as well, where it's
we got to make some new characters,
developing. This is a big. We start to get a lot more Daryl, in these episodes. And that's probably why they feel weird to me, is because they're definitely starting things,
right, that
are going to start snowballing. Because this is some of the bigger Daryl stuff in the next episode that we've seen to date.
Yeah. I mean, since his move up. And it's interesting because every time Daryl moves forward in his career, it's a similar kind of contentious moment between him and Michael, right? Because he got brought up to the office kind of going over Michael's head, but in front of everybody at once, right?
Right.
During that Joe Bennett Q&A session or whatever.
I don't know that. I mean, I wouldn't consider that going over his head, because she was like, "Hey, you want to have ideas?" And he's like, "Yes, I do." And he had one, and it was good.
Yeah, I mean, I don't hold it against him at all, but I'm not sure that's how Michael feels about it, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways,
one thing we do learn in this episode is the absolutely rigorous 2 spinning classes a month exercise regime that Michael has.
Yeah.
All that's going to do for you is make you sore twice a month. You're not going to get any benefit out of that at all.
There's some cardio there, though.
Yeah, but you're not doing enough of it to really do anything,
His regimen. Yeah. That's exactly right. Well, so what's interesting about that is that Michael doesn't seem to know how to ride a bike.
Right. We learned that Michael has no idea how to ride a bike.
Though the last time he rode one, he did, and that had those training wheels.
Right. We learn all about his inability to do that and the training wheels. I was thinking about it, man, when was the last time I actually rode a bike? It's probably been 10 years since I've ridden a bike.
I feel like I've ridden a bike once a year. at least, since I stopped needing to ride a bike to go to places.
Right, right. I mean, you ride a well. At least I rode a bike a lot in college.
I was a longboarder.
Well, yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's been a long time. I think it's been like this summer after I graduated from college is the last time I rode a bike. There's no reason to ride one anymore.
Yeah, I mean, when I would go on vacation and stuff, we'll take a bike to the beach or something
Ooh, look at
silly
you,
like that.
Mister. I've got a.
Well, because I wanted to make sure that when the cops busted me for buying meth from the homeless folks at the beach, I could easily navigate, in the whatever.
Whatever works for you, man. Whatever works for you.
So I can't drive. It's very funny. And then we kind of start with this really odd talking head between Jim and not between Jim and Dwight, but they're like co-giving it, right?
Right. They're meeting with some client,
Steve Nash.
Steve Nash, who is not the Steve Nash, which is a very like time specific reference. Like
Yeah.
Steve Nash was in the semi-national zeitgeist for like 2 years.
Right.
Did you know who he was when they said it?
No, not at any time when I had seen this episode did I know.
He
Not
is
before,
the
not
best
after.
I'm pretty sure it's right. He is the best Canadian basketball player ever.
Okay. Take your word on it.
Yeah. So he'll probably be in the NBA Hall of Fame. He was very talented.
I will say the one thing that put me off of this talking head was kind of like the instant animosity between him and Dwight. Like at this point, they had done some party planning committee stuff together, and I mean, were seasons like outwardly negative moments, and this whole conversation is just like bad.
Right. Yeah. It is. It seems forced. Maybe it's because Dwight doesn't like the idea that he might be losing a client, so that's why like it's like he's pissy. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's just odd. It's an odd choice because like that Dwight calls Jim a jock hipster, which is
Right.
like a thing that doesn't exist. Um, and rightfully so, as Jim says, I don't think I'd call him one of those either. But so it's like this awkward tension between them leading up to a punchline that's like a line.
Yeah, it just doesn't really work at all.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's whatever to me. Like I just don't have a lot going on for these episodes really, so I'm gonna do my best.
All right.
So this is the introduction of Danny Cordray, who sells for Osprey Paper, who we've never heard of.
Right.
And they are obviously only 2 years old because they would have called Michael when they realized that he was no longer with Dunder Mifflin, right? And Michael would have known about them when he was looking for people to work for in season 5.
Well, because you're thinking they would have called him to like poach him, to like headhunt him.
That, or when he was looking for people, if they are in the market, he would have known about them. Instead of just having Prince Family Paper on there, he would have at least known about Osprey.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm not sure. I mean, it could be just a silly retcon thing, right? Needing this worthwhile competitor for the sake of the storyline making sense.
Right.
But on the other hand, part of me, I mean, Dunder Mifflin themselves haven't fully acknowledged how important Michael was, even at the time of Dunder Mifflin kind of dissolving,
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like similarly, competitors won't know that Michael Scott is actually some type of secret genius.
I mean, it's one of those things though, where if a large competitor in your area, their exec or manager leaves, you give them a call. It's just good business.
Maybe. I don't know. That sounds some like white nonsense, bro.
I mean, even if you know nothing about them, you're like, hey, well, they have connections and we need to take down our big rival, so maybe they'll come talk to us.
All right, seems bold. I guess that's what business people do. I'm a creative type, Jacob. Talking very, very that's not me, man. All right.
So you're not all into the Sun Tzu Art of War and all that?
No, Jesus, no.
I've read it. It's terrible. Don't bother.
I appreciate it.
Everyone's like, you got to read it. It's great for business. I'm like, no, it's awful.
Yeah, no, doesn't sound like a treat.
Well, it kind of depends on what kind of business person you want to be. But anyway, so we have this B storyline, which really starts to develop Andy much more in depth.
Yeah.
So Broccoli Rob becomes like a singer in for a local Vermont ad
for like milk.
For milk, right? Yeah. So, but like, how big is Vermont? Like, it's got to can't be that big. Like, I mean, this has got to be like, 625,000 people in the entire state. Like, this has got to be one of those like they spent $25 on the ad and Broccoli Rob did it for free, kind of.
Right. Right.
At least that's how it.
Well, Andy finds out he's reading something. He's like reading like some type of Cornell alumni magazine or something.
Yeah. So they always blow those out of proportion. I mean, I know I read mine. I'm like, whoa, yeah, that. Like the only thing that's really come out of like my school that people might know is some grad sold a product on Shark Tank to like all 5 sharks.
I see.
So, but that's the only reason people might know my university's name because it's so tiny. But they always blow up the proportions in like, in the magazines and stuff. Like, oh, we made the Division III NCAA tournament for the first time. I'm like, wow, we're awful. We're the 500th best team in college basketball.
Well, I will say, this is 2010. I mean, like, I don't read any alumni stuff, and I don't think age between us is that large. I feel like everybody dang what they're doing because of Facebook. And like in 2010, Facebook is not what it is today. Facebook was still a social media super popular one, but
I mean, Facebook was still
wasn't doing the news. Yeah, but I mean, I guess my point is like we're on the Facebook where like maybe you needed to be a college address still. Although I think they opened it up in 2000.
I doubt it.
Well, anyways, my point is alumni matters. I already know everybody who's won an Emmy who graduated with me because they brag about it that I didn't. They're like, oh, do the Wits Club. I do. I'm brokenjars.xyz. Bitch. Okay.
I'm popular, motherfucker.
That's what I say. All right. Lost our train of thought. So, yeah, so he's kind of bugging out. So we get to see Andy kind of try to figure out how to solve some of his, this pent-up creativity he's got so that he can show the world at large that he's still got what it takes, whatever that is.
Right, for sure. And, it gets – so he starts like – this is when he recruits Daryl for his band, which is pretty much there until the end of the season in one form or another, or into the series, I should say, in one form or another.
Yeah. Kevin also gets pulled in, as we all know.
Because he's a drummer. I mean,
it's great in this city. Yeah. City 2.
Part of me wonders how many Scrantonicities he found until he just ran out of people that would play with him.
Yeah, probably a decent amount. He seems like that kind of guy.
Right, for sure.
So Jim and Dwight walk into this lobby to wait for their meeting, and they see Mr. Danny Cordray, portrayed by Timothy Olyphant. And,
which great actor. Kind of weird that he's in this. This is when you start getting like the bigger high-end like guest stars and stuff.
Yeah, it's
I
all
don't like. Is he only in these two episodes? Like this one and the next one? Like he's not really around much after this.
Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah, I think maybe a third one down the road, but
right. Like, he's really like. It feels like they're like, oh crap, we need some kind of storyline to get us through this hump because they are almost to, Michael leaving.
Yeah. So Jim and Dwight know, and they know that he is a good salesman who can steal their clients. And, it's even something that Dwight admits himself as someone who has won the Northeastern Pennsylvania Salesman of the Year award or whatever.
Right. And we learned that he's like all like yeah. Sorry, my brain was trying to make two separate points at the same time. We learned that like even Dwight's like he's amazing, which is something to be said that Dwight himself is saying, "Oh my God, this guy, he's awesome."
Yeah, I will say the Dwight. They have this strategy of trying to intimidate Danny so that he may be inclined to leave. And Dwight goes in with a comment about a woman saying that's the largest penis I've ever seen. Now, funny. And a very obvious joke to make, indicating that one's own wiener is bigger than anything anybody's ever seen. Right. There's a twist, however, because this is a penis that in this lying scenario was seen at a museum. Right. And then we find out that the big quote-unquote penis moment is that he spent $1,000 on each ticket.
Right. And there is actually a penis museum, and it is in Iceland.
Phallus.is.
The Icelandic Phallological Museum contains a collection of more than 200 penises and penile parts belonging to almost all land and sea mammals that can be found in Iceland.
Great. That's wonderful. It's a little far to see penises.
Visitors will encounter 55 specimens belonging to 16 different kinds of whale, one specimen taken from a rogue polar bear, 36 specimens belonging to 7 different kinds of seals, walrus, and 151 from various land mammals.
Man, that's a lot of dong.
It is a lot of dong.
Anyways, we also find out that Pam had gone on a couple of dates with Danny.
That's next episode.
No, you have your notes here. It says fizzled with Pam. Number 13.
Yeah. Maybe I just threw that in there.
I mean, that's all it is, though, right? We don't get into any specifics. We just find out that this is a connection that Jim has to this guy.
Right. Like, yeah, I remember. But then we have and then they call Michael to try and close this deal because whoever, I don't remember the name of the customer, but apparently they've been with Dunder Mifflin forever.
Right.
So somehow Danny talks them into signing with them, even though they don't have as good of prices or, have, as good a customer service as Dunder Mifflin does.
Yeah. I mean, Michael offers them free shipping. He even says he's going to sell it at cost, which is like nuts.
Right.
I'm sure the contract's going to have like 1,000 pieces of fine print stipulating that this is like a 30-day thing only or some nonsense, but it's an enticing offer and the dude doesn't play ball. He says he's switching and the three of them are pretty dejected, but then they have to come up with a plan.
Mm-hmm. Well, another thing that there's other areas for Dunder Mifflin to make money off of a big contract by giving them the paper. So they sell to them at cost, and then they can sell them other things, other supplies. sure they're not going to be making as much money, but it's better to have a little bit of something than a whole lot of nothing.
Right.
And so they call Michael, and he's in the middle of a meeting about something. And I don't know. And yeah, they call him in, and like he's super excited. He's like, "Oh, you thought my sales days were over, but I quit just to be called reluctantly back in." He's like super giddy that Jim and Dwight called him in to try and get the to save the account from Danny.
Right. So this, I mean, Meredith. Meredith is the central piece of this plan, and
Right. So yeah, they're gonna try and watch how Danny sells. So they set up in Dwight's office, which is one of the only times we see this office because we see it later on,
right.
but it looks a lot bigger.
Yeah.
So I guess they change it up. So they decide that, okay, they're going to make Meredith the head of Pennsylvania Solar Tech.
Yep.
Set her up and try and figure out how Danny does what he does.
I mean, there are 4 cameras, right? This is a high-tech setup. There's a close-up on Danny. There's a close-up on Meredith. There's a wide shot of the whole room, and there's a 4th camera that eludes me. But, I mean, they've got this room covered. They're basically in a cubby just next door. And Meredith is to have Danny pitch to her so that they can learn his technique.
Right. And, yeah, it's just one of those weird things. And, like, the reason they used Meredith was because her
lunch lined up.
It's 2 p.m. Well, one, do they have like set lunch schedules, or did she have other meetings that she couldn't eat before? Like 2 o'clock seems like a really late time to have a regular lunch.
Personally, my lunch is around 1:30 to 2, if I can time it out that way.
Mine's generally about 1 to 1:15, but still 2, that's pretty late. I mean, that's getting into the maybe I should just wait till dinner to eat kind of, unless you eat at like 9 o'clock or something.
Well, I mean, if we know she is the only person in her department, right, so she can't really delegate, and she has a liquid diet probably, if we recall. She's got a drinking problem. So I wonder too if maybe some of the concerns you're sharing are not important for someone who is just drinking booze out of a 7-Eleven big gulp, you know.
I mean, you still got to eat. Booze isn't that filling.
I mean, drink a lot of it then. I mean, either way, it's not that weird, I guess. A lot of people in my office don't take lunch till 1. And we can't take lunch at the same time because of whatever stupid nonsense. So I could see it. It seems like you eat lunch too early, Jacob. Sometimes people need a break in the afternoon, otherwise they might bash their face into their computer monitor.
Well, luckily I get to leave because I get to work really early. I leave about 3:30 every day, so
I'm at work till 6. So
yeah, my afternoon isn't long. But I also generally am down at my desk about 7:15 in the morning, if not earlier.
Yeah, but you're also eating breakfast earlier.
Well, yeah, it's called a protein shake.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but I mean, if the office day doesn't start at 9 and Meredith is local, she could be eating breakfast at 8.
Or you know, as a lot of people do, catch breakfast on the way in. So she might be eating breakfast at 9. So
yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying. There's reasons.
Yeah, it could work out. I just, for some reason, it seemed like a weird detail. Okay, all right. I'm stretching the best I can here, man. There's not much in this episode.
Well, we could move past it, but what a weird flag to plant on your hill. Okay, so Andy is singing with the fellas. Jacob has a problem with his high-pitched voice.
Like, why does he's got a good voice. I don't know why he always retreats to that stupid high falsetto.
Yeah, it's falsetto, and it's because it's fancy. I mean, that's just his style. Also, comedy. That's why.
Oh yeah,
I
yeah.
think
Also,
that's the point of needing a plot point reason for why Andy does silly things. It's they just needed him to be silly. And it also opens up for this next line where Kevin says he has a unique voice like Bob Dylan. I think
right,
kind of showcasing this thing here. But let's see, smoldering like a tire fire. What is
right.
that? I forget that line.
That's yeah. Andy, no, Dwight. They're watching Danny sell to Meredith, and it's like, yeah, he's smoldering like a tire fire.
Oh yeah. Yeah, like he takes off his jacket, and I think it's pretty apparent that he knows that Meredith is into him. I mean, she's not doesn't have a great poker face either. Her eyebrows are like cartoon style off her face; they're so up.
If she was a cartoon fox, her eyes would be out of her face.
Yeah, that's a whole awooga moment. So yeah, Meredith's clearly trying to bang this dude. Everybody's like kind of taking off their jackets, and he's being like respectably flirty, I guess. He's just comfortable, but she's like unbuttoned and stuff, and she's
Right, because he
on the
says
wrong
something
side of the
about,
dress.
he thinks that the first meeting is kind of like a first date. And she's like, well, this is like a third date. She starts like unbuttoning her top, and she asks him to come around, like if she can come around the desk.
Yeah. So the guys are like, okay, well, we need backup to kind of bring Meredith in and switch it out. So the first selection is Oscar, who will run Stark Industries.
Yeah, that was Ryan.
Well, Dwight suggested it to both of them.
Did he? I didn't catch. I thought he only suggested Ryan.
Yeah. Well, because Jim came up with some nonsense, and Dwight's like, "That's a fake company. Say Stark."
Right.
Yeah, and Meredith doesn't get any. Meredith
So
Oscar doesn't get
Oscar
any.
wasn't available, but they can grab him in a pinch.
Right.
So yeah, I just don't. I'm not buying that they couldn't get anybody else because they were able to bring in Oscar.
What a weird thing that you keep bringing up. It's so stupid. I mean, obviously, at this point, their plan has gone so awry that now they're taking people away from their job. Like, that's the point. They don't want to film a soft, probably a hardcore porno, honestly, if Meredith's responsible.
Oh, Danny would have bolted. Danny seems like an upstanding dude.
Do you think he could have? Not to make light of commentary in today's political climate. I'm saying I think
Meredith have raped.
I think Meredith would have like knocked his head in with a chair and banged that dude. That's what we should be talking about. Anyways, Oscar gets in, says like one thing, but Meredith immediately, in a good improv style, says that this is a Spanish-only speaking gentleman who cleans, and Oscar, following the improv rules, says yes and continues and starts to clean whatever.
And we learned Danny knows Spanish.
That's correct.
To him and like, oh yeah, I feel bad for Oscar here because it's like what's going on?
Yeah, no, he has no idea.
And apparently, because Danny is so good looking, Dwight has to tell Oscar to forget that he's gay.
Right. So after this falls through, they grab Ryan. And similar shtick, you're the CEO of whatever, but Ryan doesn't like the Stark Industries suggestion. He goes with I run Google.
Right, which is what, Chad Schmidt? I know it's Schmidt is the CEO of Google. I can't remember his first name.
Well, he starts naming people in like Google's history or whatever about how like whatever. It doesn't matter. He gets cut off. They just chuck him into the room anyways. And Meredith quickly, same deal. His name is Miguel, I think, and he has to clean the floros, which is Spanish for floors, if you didn't know, according to Meredith. So there she is. She's got like a leg up on the chair. Her buttons are all the way down on her shirt. She's got two dudes cleaning all over the place, and Danny's trapped in between her thighs.
Basically. Right. So he's just trying to bolt.
Yeah.
Michael jumps in there, and so Danny kind of loses it. So he's trying to leave, and Michael very adeptly, whatever the word I'm looking for is, convinces him to join Dunder Mifflin.
Yeah, this is a great moment. Michael really there's a few moments in these two episodes where Michael really showcases his skills as like a manager and a salesperson, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And this is one of those moments where he gives Danny this kind of like, do you want more freedom or less freedom, in this like tricky, like, what's that question that what they always ask, like, have you stopped beating your wife yet, where
Right.
either answer indicates whatever.
Well, there is no good answer.
Right. So Michael poses this question to him, and then, as you pointed out earlier, brings up the better quality and better price of Dunder Mifflin paper, and how with Danny's skills and that product, how there's no way like he wouldn't be selling a butt ton of money.
Right. It's a really true thing, because once Danny is on their team, he cannot go to the clients that they already have.
Right. I mean, if anything, he's just going back to his own clients first to steal them to Dunder Mifflin.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So that's probably another paper company that Michael Scott doomed to death.
Thank goodness.
Or Osprey, give him the Prince family paper treatment.
Yeah. So Michael goes upstairs with Danny, and he does this little intro to the whole office that Mr. Timothy Olyphant was going to start working there as a traveling salesman. And we get a lot of reactions from different people in the office, right?
Kelly's just like, fuck me.
Yeah. So I see here that your wife has a
positive. I asked her, I was like, so what do you think? Because I asked her, what do you think of Timothy Olyphant? Is he a good-looking guy? And she's like, standing next to Michael Scott, he's a 12. But on his own, he's like an 8.5. I'm like, all right.
Wow, she is selling Steve Carell way too short.
Well, he's a short dude.
Well, he's not a bad-looking guy, though.
She hates Michael. It's like she loves The Office, but she hates Michael.
She's a racist. She clearly has something against white dudes. Yeah, my girlfriend also likes – what?
She married a white dude, so I don't know what to tell you.
Well, sometimes people settle, Jacob. Just kidding.
No,
Just kidding. Yeah, no, my girlfriend is also into Timothy Olyphant, so that all works out. So this happens, and Dwight tries to do this really interesting tactic of calling him out and calling him a thief in this really impassioned and very public speech about how terrible this is all going to be for everybody. And he's like, where are my car keys, in fact? And he finds them. And he's like, all right, well, I'm over it. It's kind of like this. He kind of negotiated against himself, which is a funny little thing. And I skipped it, but all the reps go into Michael's office to ask him what the hell is his problem. And he starts off by trying to do do you want to stay the same, or do you want things to get better?
Everyone wants to stay the same.
Right, which is like the exact same question he had asked 5 minutes before, but it does not work on his staff, who is already tired of his crap. But yeah, similarly, he also does a pretty good impassioned speech about explaining how he's not going to steal their clients anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, really, Michael brings it all home at the end of this episode of like really showcasing how he can like bring this office together and have a good staff. Though he does have one oversight, who is they've already got a traveling salesman, Todd Packer.
Like, can you have enough? Like, I don't know. To me, like, to have that it doesn't really matter as long as they're making their salary and pay in sales, right? Like,
yeah, I mean, I guess like my company has sales folks, but they are obviously scattered.
mm-hmm.
So I don't know if Todd is based locally, as is Danny. I guess that could be why it's a problem.
Could be. Yeah, it could be. But there's no telling where
Todd really goes, right?
Where Todd goes, or where Danny is from. You know, he could be there. He could be anywhere in PA, really, or being where they are. You know, New York or some other different states. Wouldn't be hard.
Yeah, it's true. But I mean, I guess that's just why it depends, because we don't really know where Saber's current places are, you know.
Right. Hmm.
Um, and I guess I'm trying to think about it because Saber bought Dunder Mifflin, right?
Hmm.
But did they buy all the branches or just Scranton?
They bought everything.
So there are other, theoretically, all the other branches of Dunder Mifflin are running too, right?
What didn't, maybe they, trimmed them down because they still have Utica. We know of that. From Lecture Circuit, wait, no, that was, Lecture Circuit was before the buyout, right?
Yeah, yeah. Well, because I guess I'm wondering, does Holly still work for Dunder Mifflin / Saber? Because
Uh,
she comes,
yeah,
because she comes to Scranton.
right, because to fill in for Toby.
Yeah, so that's what I was wondering. Like, did she just
Yeah.
get transferred there, or was she doing something else? And maybe Joe Bennett had someone headhunt Holly and be like, "Hey, we know you used to work for us, and we have this position. Would you like to come?"
Right, but the way Michael put it was she works for he says the Utica branch. So
Or Nashua?
Nashua, right. So
Yeah, yeah.
and
So
and
she still works for
there's this idea that, well, it is
Saber,
said that she has to go back to Nashua when Toby comes back.
right?
And so we see some of that, and that's why she quits. It was so she doesn't have to go back. And then they decided to move to Colorado.
Right.
So I was looking at the dates a little bit. So the first season of Justified from FX, which stars Timothy Olyphant, whatever, premiered in March. And so you got to figure this episode's probably recorded in like August, right?
Yeah.
So I wonder if they were like, if Timothy Olyphant like got on and was going to do more episodes, but then Justified got renewed for a second season.
No, probably not. I think he was kind of a bigger actor. You know, he had done Deadwood already, and he'd been in a couple flicks. So I felt like this was just set up to be a cameo. Because not for nothing, but in the next episode, the whole Danny, Jim, Pam thing gets resolved.
Mm-hmm.
So he wouldn't have really had much conflict. And Dwight points out that there's no desk for him.
Yeah, maybe. I
And
like
we
that
had,
theory better.
and like, when was the last time we had seen Todd Packer? You know,
It's been forever.
so I feel like they didn't need one more character not to write for. You know.
Uh, yeah. So the only thing we really need to touch on is Dwight describes Pam as a plain, hardy woman of Scranton that makes this town great.
Yeah. Yep. So, what do you think, man? What would you give this episode?
It's just kind of there. Like it's almost a backdoor pilot for the rest of the series. So we start developing Daryl, we start developing Andy, all this other stuff. I don't know. It's very meh. It's just not a lot. It's not that funny. So I'm going to give this a 1 out of 5 jock hipsters. Also something I do not like.
Yeah, no, I disagree. I think it's I spent a lot of time in the past couple episodes of Great Scott talking about how they did stupid things with Michael, making him kind of go back to being a dick after we spent 6 seasons of him becoming a better person.
Right.
So this episode, especially in the latter half, really showcases Michael's adult professional ability to be a regional manager.
Right. And I do like that. It's not that this episode is not without gems. It's just they're few and far between. It's really not funny. And it's not awkward enough to really be memorable in that either. It's just kind of lukewarm episode.
Well, I mean, I think this is why, because we didn't really finish either Andy's storyline, but him and the guys start talking, and then they start jamming, and Andy kind of has this growing moment within that self-contained bit where he sees that, Daryl is a good musician, which the audience has known, but Andy's kind of up his own ass. So he's
Right.
doing
Well, and this is also
project.
where Andy sort of has that realization that he feels like life has passed him by. That he doesn't know who he's going to be. Right. And it really hits home with the way his character's developed. Of him saying, I've got a closet full of me's. So part of me is like, that's a really good character development going forward, which we see him start to pull through, especially as he becomes manager and everything else. So that's really nice, and it's really profound, especially for Andy. And that's the first like really profound moment he gets. Yeah, he gets some big moments, but not like character profound moments, and so that's really good, and that's good later on, but it feels so throwaway when they do it.
Sure. I mean, that's why you gave it the 1. I'm explaining why I gave it a 3.5, so we can just, not jump down. Well, I mean, it's just a lot of good people moments. It's a lot of real Michael. It's not the cartoony fire drill episode with people having heart attacks and wearing Hannibal Lecter faces and dancing in the middle of a CPR class because Michael singing "Staying Alive" is so goddamn catchy. Like it even though there are some oddness in the moments, the episode has some good people stuff, I think. So I give it a 3.5 out of 5 fluoros. So building. But I get it. It's very different, but I think that's kind of what I liked because again, 7 years into a show, sometimes you look for something that's a little different.
It's just like it's very much a transition episode. These 2 episodes are very transition.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of, next up, Costume Contest, directed by Dean Holland and written by Justin Spitzer. And we get this cold open that to me is very reminiscent of the betting that took place during season 3, specifically the one involving Creed.
Yeah, what will Creed notice?
Yeah. So basically, Jim's talking to Andy. He placed his mug of orange juice onto Stanley's desk, which is, a little weird, but fine. And as he's talking, Stanley goes to drink from his mug, gets Jim's instead, and sips the orange juice and doesn't really make a face or anything.
Mm-hmm.
Gets Jim thinking, what else won't Stanley notice? And we all know Stanley doesn't give a damn about this job. He's there doing crossword puzzles. So they put it to the test, and it's tons of stuff. There's covering his PC with a label that is the Dunder Mifflin desktop screen, right?
Right. They've dressing Kevin up as Phyllis and
right. Andy being shirtless.
The satchel as and handbag.
Right.
Andy takes his shirt off completely and just has a tie on.
Yeah.
But then he notices that the clock is wrong.
Right.
It's actually past 5, so he leaves. And Dwight's there with the Shetland pony. There's the whole conference room meeting where all the chairs are pushed the other direction.
Right.
And no one notices.
Yeah. Pam's wearing a mustache as Stanley walks out. There's the pony. Michael's wearing vampire fangs, and he's got his little cat puppet thing that's doing the rock'em sock'em. And Stanley's out. And, it's just a nice little bit reminding us that Stanley doesn't like it there. As if we needed the reminder. But
I wonder if Stanley feels that he he's got a solid pipeline of customers, so it's just most of his job is just maintaining that relationship and renewing. So if that's what he's decided it's going to be, there's not a lot of extra things to do, really.
Yeah, no, I'm not holding it against him. I'm just saying that, as if this was all a surprise, that he wouldn't give a damn about what the hell's going on in this office,
Right.
But so it's around Halloween here at Dunder Mifflin, and we are having a costume contest to win one of those local coupon books that have a value of $15,000 in savings. So we get to see what everybody shows up as. We got Kevin Malone as Michael Moore.
And I love how Oscar's like, so this is a edgy costume. What's kind of statement you trying to make? He's like, oh, the statement is that I kind of look like Michael Moore.
Yeah.
That is just like a great juxtaposition of two thoughts. Like
Right.
Mike or Kevin's like, I look like Michael Moore, so I'll be Michael Moore. And, we see Oscar being the conscientious consumer later, so everything has to be something with Oscar.
Yeah, well, he first he is wearing like a disco costume, and he also has like a midday change into this sensible consumer thing or whatever. Aaron is wearing some type of demon mask, and that's about it. We've got Angela as a giant penguin. I forget what Kelly was, but she also has a mid-episode costume change.
I forget what Kelly was, and I have no idea what she changes into. It's a very
She was Snooki, and then she changes into apparently Katy Perry. So if you're not familiar with the music videos of Katy Perry.
I am not. I don't know if I've seen a single one of them.
We got Ryan is Justin Bieber. Andy
I thought he was Ryan Seacrest.
No, Justin Bieber. J Biebs. Andy is Bill Compton from True Blood. Stanley is a nondescript samurai warrior. Creed is a mummy.
I thought was pretty good. Like, it actually does look pretty good. The samurai.
Oh yeah, no, it's pretty legit. I don't know why he picks that either. But I think all the people participating is to showcase how wanted this coupon book is for whatever weird reason.
Right.
Meredith
generally with those coupon books, there's always one coupon that's stupidly good, and that's why everyone wants it.
Yeah. I mean, traditionally those books retail for like $40.
Right.
So in terms of a book full of promotions you'll probably never use, it's a pretty hefty price. But if the thing you want lines up being the coupon that breaks the book.
Right. And I remember when I was in college, we had a student discount card, which was pretty worthless, except it was buy one, get one at Fazoli's, which do you know what a Fazoli's is? Is that a thing? Fazoli's is sort of a fast food Italian place, which was pretty tasty, but a little bit expensive. Like it was like Chick-fil-A level of pricing, not so higher end fast food.
Okay.
It was and it was no limit. Buy one, get one. So you could go get like their extra large meatball sub or whatever and get another one free. And so you could get like 4 meals for like $12 or whatever. So it ended up being the rest of them were like 10%, 5%, whatever. But this one, that was the reason to have it, was the Fazoli's discount.
I see. All right, that's fair. Good to know. Just to finish the list, Meredith is Sookie Stackhouse from True Blood. Toby's a hobo. Daryl was Dracula. Phyllis is Supreme Court Justice Sonia Sotomayor. Gabe is Lady Gaga. Todd Packer makes an appearance, and he is a pregnant nun. Bob Vance is in it, and he is Dirty Harry. And
you rarely get a good look at Bob Vance.
Yeah, you wouldn't be able to tell. That must be some director's commentary stuff there.
Must be, or like I would be surprised if it's a deleted scene.
Yeah. Pam is Olive Oil of Popeye and Olive Oil, and
which kind of comes into play in the B storyline, the B storyline of Pam and Danny.
Yeah. Cece makes an appearance as Sweet Pea, Popeye's daughter, and at this moment in time, Michael's MacGruber, and then Jim is.
Was MacGruber an SNL thing, or was it just like a random movie? Like, I know nothing about MacGruber.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was an SNL thing first, and then it became an SNL movie. Yeah, kind of like Superstar or whatever. So there you go. That's your Halloween costume list. But yes, back into the episode. So everybody's dressed up and they're gearing up to get this coupon book or whatever. Dwight is the strangler, which is a nice touch. So his first appearance is trying to strangle Jim.
Jim, yeah. But this is before they know who he is, right?
Yes, right. I don't think Toby's been on trial yet because that's when he's away for what's her face to come back
for Holly, right?
Yeah.
And this is also like gets Oscar going on how the coupon buck really isn't worth $15,000. How do you have to spend like $250,000 to get $15K in savings?
Yeah.
And no one cares. Not even Angela, who's generally all about this kind of stuff. You know, like she's like, Pam did a really good job here.
Yeah. So there's an announcement here that corporate has made a change and drivers will now be doing some sales.
Right. So Madge sells a printer or something.
That's right. Yeah. So they're delivering paper and they have the tools to sell.
Right, which makes total sense. Maybe they put in a order and forgot something or realized it just when they got there, like, oh, we really need this. And now the drivers can be like, oh, hey, your tablet or whatever.
Yeah, right. So Michael instantly recognizes that this is an idea that Daryl had passed to him a month or so before, and he had passed on it, I guess. And he feels terrible about it, and he goes about trying to make amends by announcing to the office that this was Daryl's idea, that Daryl deserves the credit, and that they're going to call corporate to let them know that Daryl Philbin had it first.
Right, screw it to corporate. And Gabe comes in and is like, whoa, this was Daryl's idea. He came to me, and I sent it up giving him full credit.
Yeah.
Which is, exactly what Gabe should have done.
Right. But Michael takes this as a personal slight, and he's not wrong that it is going over someone's head, but later on Daryl makes the comment that, like, obviously it's a good idea, and Michael messed up.
Right. And that is, that's really the long and the short of it is.
Yeah.
And I don't know why Michael thought it was a bad idea. I wish there was some kind of mental reasoning for Michael in this of why he thought it was a bad idea.
Right. Yeah, part of me only can guess that it's because he doesn't think highly of the warehouse staff.
Maybe.
So I wonder if he just thought maybe it's not doable.
It really could be just that he thinks that they're salesmen and, he doesn't think there should be any crossover, so to speak.
Yeah.
He's a little, colorist. He's not so colorblind as he once said he was.
Colors he sees. Collars? Right. Not sure. White shirt, blue shirt, who knows? Like you said, that's the big part. So his storyline there with Daryl is kind of this contention. It's going between them, trying to reconcile, how they can move past this.
Right.
So Packer's around, as we heard, and we get this fun moment of Packer sitting in that middle break room by the bathrooms, and he's got a bunch of treat bags with like scary things in them, right? Eyeballs. It
wouldn't surprise me if it was like Pam or someone had done that.
Well, yeah, I bet that. Yeah,
so he had his trouser mouse.
That's right. Yeah, and Danny's there, and he's like, "Hey, that's not going to go how you think it's going to go."
Right. I mean, like, assuming the worst, which is a good thing to assume with Todd Packer, like, if a woman or anyone were to stick their hand down in there, that's immediate grounds for firing.
Yeah, you can't go grabbing someone's dick just because it's in a bag. Just kidding. Well, kidding. Right. Todd would get fired. I get it.
For all intents and purposes, have your dick out in the workplace during work hours.
Bro, it's not out. It's in a bag. It's in a bag. Come on, man. Why you gotta be such a prude? It's just hanging brain. No, yeah. No, it's a terrible move, and it's like so obviously sexual harassment. Once someone touches it, it becomes assault. It's terrible.
Yes.
Todd needs to be
And
fired.
you know what? St. Patty's Day is coming up, and pinching in the workplace is assault. So be careful.
There you go. Um, so Jim catches Danny during this whole dong mouse moment and puts the question. He's like, "Hey, why did you never call Pam back?" And this is after an awkward meeting where the three of them kind of meet in the conference room and have a moment and kind of hash things out. But there's this awkwardness between
Right.
Pam
Well,
and
and Pam definitely has this, like, and that's it. Like, she makes
right.
it feel like there's some kind of other thing going on.
Yeah, there's something going on that she wants out in the world. Um, and I guess kind of skipping also, Danny had invited the whole staff to his bar for a party, and in solidarity with Jim, Kevin, and Andy say they're not going to go to the party.
Right.
So
The
on
public
themselves, they've
school
said
is
it.
the name of the
Yeah,
bar.
right.
If it was in an old public school, it would be pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah. So they've taken it amongst themselves to support Jim this way. They tell Danny they can't come, so now Danny knows something's weird. Jim confronts Danny in the break room. There's a penis out by the fridge. There's so much going on. And we find out that Danny says that Pam spent the whole previous date talking about Jim.
Right. And so Jim is like, yeah. Jim definitely has one of those I am a stud kind of looks on. Like, yeah, fuck yeah. That's right. That's goddamn right. She spent the entire time talking about me kind of look on his face.
Right. But then the next scene immediately, because I guess he went and like the elevator scene where Pam tells Jim that her dad expressed how much Jim loves Pam. Jim was probably expecting to have a similar moment with Pam, reminiscing about this date where she couldn't stop gushing about him.
Mm-hmm.
Instead, we are treated to a scene of Pam confronting Danny outside of the restroom now, where we
Right.
find out this was not the case.
Mm-hmm.
And they're really pushing Danny. And is it awkward? I don't know.
It is. I mean, it is awkward. Like, why is this a big deal? I mean, it would be one thing maybe if Danny was like with or trying to get Pam, but they're married and with a kid. So I don't know. It just seems.
I mean, if we think 4 years ago, I mean that's beginning of season 3. So now Jim is in Connecticut and Pam is freshly single after being with Roy for like 5+ years.
Right. She's going to date. We see one of the dates. It didn't go so well.
Well, so I guess I wonder if Pam was in a pretty obviously vulnerable state. So having this dude show up who she feels kind of did her wrong, I wonder if that like is why she's having trouble just letting it go and like she needs this closure. Even though there's like she's not trying to win him or anything, obviously,
Yeah, it could be.
I mean, that's the only thing I could think of. Otherwise, it just seems kind of like out there that that they're just hounding this dude about a date 4 years ago, But we find out that Danny thought that Pam was dorky.
Right. And, that's just how it is sometimes. It's like sometimes you just don't like somebody that way, Like, not everything has to be something.
Right. Well, and the beginning part of this episode was Pam kind of trying to get Jim to dress up as Popeye, kind of showcasing her dorkiness and, not to make a list of dorky Pam moments, right? But we've got Pam dressing up as Charlie Chaplin in New York City and being the only person there.
Mm-hmm.
We've got, her being a drunk college student isn't really dorky. That's about par for the course, really.
That's what you're supposed to do in college, according to Meredith.
Yeah.
Later on.
Right. She's got like her weird little artsy sideways ponytail when she's got her art exhibit. Like, Pam's a little quirky is all, and not in a bad way.
It's
obviously
who she is.
Right. But Danny's not looking for that,
Yeah, that's fine,
Well, and Pam says that too. It's totally fine. It's whatever. But I think it hits a note with Pam because all day Jim's been kind of pretending that dressing up is too cool for school.
Right.
And then she gets this confirmation. Yeah.
And we know Jim is not a big costume guy.
Well, he dressed up as Facebook once.
Right. And we do see a clip of that lost opening.
Yeah.
But he says that he's too old for costumes, but he's not too old to constantly be pranking Dwight and all the other, quote unquote childish things that he does.
Right. So after all this, and Pam is kind of hurt, and maybe she's coming to some type of realization about her dorkiness affecting, like maybe Jim thinks she's dorky, I think is the concern here that we see on her face,
Maybe, yeah.
But then Jim, next scene, shows up wearing a Popeye costume. He's holding Sweet PCC. He's doing a little sailor jig or whatever that weird foot motion was and stuff, and it's all very adorable. Yeah. Wow. I just saw your note where you said Madge cells, and I watch it with the captions on because I'm old, and that is certainly not how you'd spell Madge, but that's fine.
I was typing as fast as I could. God damn it!
Yeah, no, I get it. You're doing like stenographer notes. It's no problem. All right, so back to the contest. So there are 2 costume changes here. No, 3 costume changes. Oscar changes from his disco dude to the consumer thing, whatever the hell it was. Kelly shows up as Katy Perry. Apparently, I thought she was some type of weird Willy Wonka jawbreaker thing, but that's fine.
Yeah, that's what I was like. Man, like, is she supposed to be like? And I don't know exactly why, but like I got very Aqua Barbie girl music video vibes from her costume. I don't know
because she's so stiff, I think is what it is.
Yeah, I guess that's what it is. But I definitely like that's where my mind went.
Yeah.
If you don't know what that is, you're too young, and I don't know. I mean,
there. We've cursed too many times for you to be listening to this show. And then Angela, biggest surprise of them all, shows up as a sexy nurse.
Because that's all they had left.
Yeah, that's what she says. And then she goes on this nice kind of fourth wall breaking monologue where she's like, we all know what sells here. Like, let's all be adults.
Right. And we also get one of the few looks at like the fact that Angela is really shapely and in really good shape. Like, she's a very attractive one.
Yeah, I feel like that is that was a costume choice that was made around season 4 as they started focusing more on Angela and Dwight. Because if you watch the first 3 seasons, she really does maintain that whole super covered up, super conservative thing. But then they start giving her a little bit more because like her sprinkles, her sprinkles like morning outfit is like still mostly sheer, Mm-hmm. Like it's black, but it's risque is all I'm saying. I don't know if I'd expect a super Christian conservative lady to be dressing like that. Anyway, so we get our so that we're gearing up toward the parade, but Michael has it up to here, man, of people talking behind his back.
Right.
And he can't let it go, and he turns to his left and he sees a fist bump between Kevin and Gabe. The betrayal. I imagine this is how Caesar felt on the Ides of March,
A very Et tu, Brute moment, is that what you're saying?
Exactly. Et tu, Kev.
So he jumps in there, he's like, you don't talk to him, like,
yeah.
And we find out that all Kevin was doing was telling him to power down like a robot.
Right, just a sweet, sweet dance move that Lady Gaga can do. And, oh my God, I mean, I was cracking up. It's just Kevin's breakdown here emotionally is just his face is red. He's crying. I think he's seconds away from snotting all over himself. He's trying to explain this dance move situation. And instead of Michael apologizing for the misunderstanding, he kind of doubles down and says, well, don't let it happen again. And Kevin just screams. He's like, do you think I'd ever let this happen again?
No way, Jose.
Yeah. And so Michael leaves and Kevin composes himself and he's about to leave and Gabe tries to do a comforting hand thing and Kev turns around and just goes, fuck you, Gabe.
It's great.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
is like later on. I think it was during the costume parade that Michael comes out and is Daryl. He's
right.
like, "Oh yeah, I'm hip and I'm jive." He's like, "Oh yeah, like I'm Daryl, you jerk." And I love how everyone's just done with Michael. Like fans, like, when has dressing up as someone ever worked out for you?
He's like, never.
Because
Yeah,
this is after the whole him being Jesus
right,
debacle.
right.
It's happened so many times.
Well, and I got to say, oftentimes I have discussions about 30 Rock where they had one of their characters in two separate episodes do full on blackface.
Okay.
And I think it's funny. And I think I get it because, they tried to do a weird thing by having a lady do blackface as a man. So there's like a lot of layers there. And, the question's always posed like, well, isn't that offensive anyways, even if you're trying to make a comment?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't find that offensive. But Michael coming out doing his Daryl impression, I felt very awkward. It was like a 20-second moment of dinner party for me, where I'm just like, you can't do that, man. That's racist. You can't do it. And he does
Can't
it.
do it.
And he just goes. And yeah, Kelly's just like, can you just for once let us enjoy a party?
Yeah, without making up about all your crap.
Yeah. And immediately we cut to our parade and we see all the costumes in action or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And it's quick and it goes. And Pam looks at all the votes because everybody has to vote. They can't vote for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And we find out that Oscar is the winner by some type of weird, vote for someone else strategy that accidentally ended up in his favor.
Yeah.
Because so Kelly says, I'm going to vote for someone who's not going to win. Ryan says, he's trying to shake it up. Yeah, yeah. Exactly, a Nader guy.
I'm shocked that he is a quote unquote Nader guy.
Right.
He probably doesn't even know what that means.
No, I don't think so. Creed voted for him because he thought it was a James Edward Olmos cosplay or whatever.
Right.
Which is also pretty offensive, but that's fine. Yeah, and then we get back to Jim's silly Popeye nonsense that's going down.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, I just saw your link here to Fazioli's or whatever. Let's check that out later. Yeah, and then that's about the end of the episode. Oscar wins, and that's it. Kind of fizzles there.
Yeah, Oscar wins. Michael and Daryl talk it out with Gabe, and then they decide they can go directly to Joe if they want to, and all this other stuff. So.
Yeah, I mean, basically, they don't specifically agree that Daryl will always go to Michael. They just agree that they don't want to talk to Gabe anymore.
Pretty much.
Yeah. That's kind of one of those, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, what do you give this episode?
I thought this was also, and I don't know, maybe I was just in a good mood when I watched them because obviously I usually grade everything a lot lower. But I think this was like a 3.7 out of 5 because I look like them.
Yeah, it's a okay episode. Better than the last one. I don't know. On rewatch, the whole Danny thing just feels out of it just feels weird. It's these big chunk of 2 episodes that it's just there for no reason except to be.
Yeah, I mean, again, personally, and not to interrupt your rating like you did mine so rudely before, but yeah, I mean, that's why I tend to like the beginnings of these seasons better because they're just like one-offs that don't matter later because I think the stuff that matters later is kind of boring. And clearly, in this instance, we're finding that you feel the opposite in this context.
Well, yeah. Well, the thing is to bring in this new any random thing between the characters in the show would have been better than bringing in someone new.
Yeah, no, I don't think so.
Just need
I
something
mean,
fresh.
I mean, it's fine, but we get to see like good partnerships between Andy and Kevin. It's back to the team that fought to get the parking spaces back,
Right.
and there's a lot of like other good moments here. So it's interesting to see like this year apart that Jim and Pam spent. Something from that came to fruition.
Okay. Yeah.
And again, it doesn't matter, right? Because 4 episodes from now, no one's talking about this.
Right. So
But
I'm actually
yeah.
during our recording, I have softened my stance and actually raised the grade on this episode to 2.5 out of 5 public schools.
I love it. Yeah, and that's going to do it for Great Scott this week. Tune in 2 weeks from now where we cover christening and the episode after christening, viewing party. Yeah.
Which I hope viewing party holds up because I've always liked that episode. So we'll see.
Yeah. As always, visit patreon.com/brokenjars to give us some of your hard-earned money so we can keep doing what we do.
Yep. You can find me at Jacob Eagles on Twitter. BrokenJars.xyz is our website. BrokenJarsBroadcasting@gmail.com if you want to email us. Yeah. So hit us up. We know you're out there. We'd love to talk to you. So.
Yep. Leave a comment on Reddit. Leave a comment or a review on iTunes. Hit us up on Google Music. I think we're probably there. Whatever.
Hey guys, y'all have a good one. We'll see you in 2 weeks.
Yup.
It will be the day after St. Patrick's Day, so you can listen to us with your monster hangover.
There it is. All right. See ya. Bye.
Later.